My journey from religion to owning my own spiritual journey. What if everything you believe wasn't the whole truth? Well, my story began within the familiar embrace of faith. I grew up in a Christian home where church wasn't just a building, it was a it was the nucleus of our existence. My dad was a pastor and later bishop. My granddad was a bishop. One of my uncles was a bishop. So I grew up church. Sundays weren't just another day, it was a way of life. It was the rhythm of our lives. Everything was circled around service times, Bible studies, midweek service, conferences, revivals, and that was our life. And we enjoyed it. And we just knew no other life, and that was just it. So there was a structure, a clear path laid out. And but undeniably, there was love. I was surrounded by love. I have no bad memories. I don't regret anything. The community nurtured us, supported us, and for that I remain grateful, and I will always remain grateful because that is the bridge that brought me across. I am not the one to speak against religion. I'm not the one to say anything negative about it because everyone has their own unique path to go. So um, that's the path that I chose to go through to get to where I am now. I have vivid memories etched in my mind of the hard wooden floor pews. Back then we had wooden pews; they wasn't cushioned. As a child, just sleeping on my mom's lap through long sermons and the revivals, the conferences. Those revivals they might be a week long. You went every night, and I wanted to go, and I went. So, and and also my family was very musical. So I remember being in a little musical group uh, as a young teenager, and we traveled and sang at different churches and events, and I enjoyed that. And to fast forward, I got married. I married someone who was spiritual as well with me. We connected spiritually, and we continue the tradition of going to church and uh, allowing that to be the nucleus of our life. Eventually, we became pastors, and we did tent meetings. We traveled uh, up and down the state to different uh, places, and we enjoyed that. I had two girls, and I put them on my hip, and they traveled with me. So I was a headstrong believer, and so was he. Um, so my journey from religion to owning my own uh, journey, owning my own spirituality, um, began when I asked Spirit to reveal the truth. I just asked. After a meeting one night, I was home, and just in my spirit, I said, "Just I want to know the whole truth. Your soul knows when something is missing. You can't put your hand on it. You don't know, what's what, but you just know something's missing." And I knew out of all of that we were doing spiritually, I knew something was missing. It wasn't a rejection of what I knew, but a desperate plea for a more authentic connection, which I had a connection, but I just knew something. It was more to that connection. That's the best way that I can explain it. The prayer wasn't answered with a thunderclap or a blinding light. Jesus didn't come and stand in my room. None of that. It just unfolded gradually, like the slow blossoming of a flower, who is me. It just unfolded gradually. It came through whispers in the quiet moments, through unexpected connections with people from diverse backgrounds. And let's talk about that for a minute, because you can't be afraid of something that you don't understand. Um, in order to understand it, you got to listen. You got to read. A lot of us don't want to read. You got to read. You got to just be open to different experiences in life. And that's how we're going to grow. And that's how you're going to spiritually be awake through the profound wisdom found in nature and art and the simple acts of just being present. That's how we began to spiritually awake. And that's how I began to spiritually awake. It wasn't in the, I come from a Pentecostal background, so we did a lot of shouting and, you know, singing and shouting and, and you can't shout it out. Those of you who from Pentecostal background, you know what I'm talking about when I say shout. It's like a dance. You're dancing in the spirit. Ain't nothing wrong with it, but that's not all that we can do to almost like you're trying to get God's attention, or I don't know. That was just what we did. I don't know. So I said, reveal my truth. That was that fear of stepping out of the familiar, of course. And I have had dealt with this for years of stepping out of the familiar because I had the apprehension of disappointing my loved ones, because I was one of the only ones that I knew personally that was stepping out of the tradition that I grew up in. That was just through my lineage that I know of, and definitely through my immediate family. Uh, I was stepping out of the tradition of, you know, what was familiar and what my family was all about. So I did have apprehension about it. And I did deal with, even sharing with them what Spirit was saying to me, what Spirit was doing for me, anything. I really didn't talk to them about it. I just kept it within my immediate family, my husband and my two girls. They knew, and they kind of just joined in with that spiritual awakening. So we just had like this tribe. We call ourselves the Wu tribe. We just kept it within ourselves. But I still went to church periodically. I still, talked to them, but not about everything, but specific things that. But the one thing that I will say about my family, they never said anything to me negative about, because I did eventually stop pastoring. I did eventually stop going to church, which was a big deal, of course, from going almost every night to doing tent meetings, revivals, and just being, you know, that, headstrong believer, into stepping back and not doing any of that. So I remember one time I was at a restaurant, and a former um, member that I used to go to church with, she knew I wasn't going to pastor anymore or whatever. And she asked me, um, what happened? And I said, what do you mean what happened? So she was insinuating, what happened, why I stopped pastoring, why, they want to say you backslid or you're not, spiritual anymore. And that's not true. And I just simply told her I grew, which I did. I grew. But someone who's boxed in, they cannot even see outside the box. They can't even see the light cracking through the box. So I just told her I grew, and I just left it like that, because I said, you know what? I can't explain to you about spiritual awakening, because some people you just can't, talk to about it. So don't be afraid of that, because people, when they going right, they think everybody supposed to be going right. But hey, you can be sincere, but you can be sincerely wrong a lot of times. So there was a fear, and I gradually uh, have gotten over that because I knew I had to find my authentic self within and at all costs. That's at all costs with my husband, my children, my mom, my siblings, my tradition. I have to find my authentic self because ultimately that's why I'm here. That's why you're here, to find your authentic self, to find your path. It's diverse. Everyone's path is just not the same. And you can't make somebody, force somebody to go this way. This is the way. This is the way. It may not be my way. I might have, I might have to take a U-turn over here, or I might have to go around the corner for a minute. You see what I'm saying? But the ultimate destination is going to be to get to source, to get to the Most High. That's our ultimate destination, is get to the Most High and be the highest version of yourself that you can. And that's what my desire is. And that's what I'm striving for every day, is to be the highest version of myself and allow the Most High to teach me lessons through just everyday life of, uh, going through the activity of everyday life, healing myself from past traumas that I don't even remember happened. So, and that's a truth that, a lot of us need healing, but we got to take time to do that. We got to take time for ourselves. We got to read, you got to say affirmations, you got to meditate, you got to do, just whatever it takes for you. That's what you got to go walk in the park, go look at the water at the beach. Just whatever it takes for you. That's what we have to do. And it's about recognizing, at the end of that, it's about recognizing the whispers. That was just a little whisper in my soul about asking Spirit to reveal the truth. Recognize the whisper, that gentle breeze that comes. It may come when you first wake up in the morning. It may just come when you just driving, or it may come. It can come anytime. But just recognize it. That's the whisper of the Spirit. So my journey from sleeping on church pews, singing in the singing group which I enjoy, going to revivals, doing tent meetings, being a pastor, going through the apostolic initiations. I stand here today embracing spiritual freedom, and it is a testament to the power of that inner seeking. It's a reminder that the path to truth is often a deeply personal one, and it's okay to step outside the familiar walls of the tradition to discover who you really are. The boundless landscape of your own soul, of your own soul. Not what somebody else say your soul should be. Not what somebody else say how you should be, or what deity you should be serving or not serving. It is up to you. As long as you are doing what you're doing through the spirit of the Most High. I'm not talking about no negative stuff now. I'm talking about the spirit of the Most High. You're going to be okay. So I want to encourage you today and embrace the question. Honor your intuition. Trust the quiet work of your own awakening. The journey to your own spiritual truth is a sacred one, and it is yours alone. You're not alone, but it is yours alone to walk. It is yours alone to travel. But at the same time, the Most High, your ancestors, your guardian spirits are always with you. I wish you the best and happy awakening.